Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to the Joint Affordable Housing Group. Today is Wednesday, March 5th. I am Laura Silber from the Martha's Vineyard Commission. I'm the Island Housing Planner. I think everybody on the Zoom probably knows who I am. Just in case anyone is watching this who doesn't know me, hello. Lucy Morrison, my colleague, is going to be running the Zoom. For everyone who's attending, we'll go through the agenda, we call it discussion topics, really. This is more of like an informal type of meeting between the towns with us and housing advocates so that everyone can share information. That's really the goal of the Joint Affordable Housing Group. So we'll go through this and we'll stop after each topic for questions so that we can have questions and discussion. And then if we have time, we can open it up in the end for more discussion, but we've got kind of a lot to catch up on because we haven't met for a while. So going forward, Lucy and I are going to try hard to get this back to every other month. We just had so much going on with the zoning analysis that I'm really sorry that we dropped off from having these meetings regularly. And I think it's really helpful for cross-pollination for all the towns and advocates to be in the same Zoom room together. So thanks everybody for coming. So we'll start off with the housing production plans. So for anyone who isn't getting the emails, first of all, I just want to preface this by saying we have the Joint Affordable Housing Group list. These emails go to the administrators for all of the affordable housing committees. If there's no administrator on your affordable housing committee, it goes to your chair and usually one other person. I usually also send this out to the planning board administrators. Anyone who would like to be on the email notification list that comes from myself and Lucy, who isn't getting notification directly from us, please email us and let us know you want to be added to the JAG email list. It's possible that everyone here is getting direct emails. If not, please contact us so we can add you if you'd like us to do that. So first discussion topic is the housing production plans with the timeline. This is all also up on the calendar event on our website if you didn't receive a direct email with all this information. Barrett Planning has the housing production plans underway, which we're very excited about. They're in the process of meeting with all the towns. I know a lot of you are the point people for your town to communicate with Barrett Planning. I am always here to support the process as it goes along, and I'm working with Barrett Planning to provide information and support the whole process. So within the next 2 weeks, Barrett will have met with all of the towns, the representatives, the point people from each town, and also joint select board affordable housing committee and planning board meeting for each town so that every town clearly understands the process for the housing production plans going forward. If you have additional questions beyond that process, please reach out to myself and or Barrett Planning, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. The more people who can attend those joint meetings, the better, because it's really helpful to get questions answered and asked in an open public forum with everyone in the same Zoom room. So I'd really encourage you, when the planning board, select boards, and affordable housing committees have these meetings, please do your best to attend. I believe the next one, Edgartown's on March 11th. And again, if people want to attend other towns' meetings to get an idea of the conversations happening in other towns, you can do that as well. March 11th for Edgartown, March 25th for Oak Bluffs. West Tisbury, I believe, is also March 11th. Sorry, I actually don't have the dates in front of me. Would anybody, I think what I'll do is I'll put all the dates together and I'll just email it out to the whole JAG so that you guys have each other's dates. And then you can go on the planning board website in each of the towns if you want to access the Zoom link for a different town. Does anybody have any questions about the housing production plan process that hasn't been addressed in your town conversation? Oh, well, that's good. I don't see any hands. That's a good sign. Okay, fantastic. The more information we can get out about the HPPs, the better these HPPs are going to be. So I did send around in the topics list the link to the Housing Production Plan website, which is now live on the homepage of the Martha's Vineyard Commission or the link is live on the homepage of the Martha's Vineyard Commission website. It would be really great if all of the towns could also post this link to your own website, and particularly on the planning board pages and the Affordable Housing Committee pages of your website. Generally, I think community members who are interested in this will go to the planning board page or the affordable housing page. So if it's possible to make those links easy to find, we'll get more participation, and you'll get more participation and feedback. And I'd also encourage IHT, if you guys want to put it out there or send it out in a newsletter, to get that information out with the link to the HPP website. I know you guys have a huge email list, and we're really looking to get the information out on this. So the good news is we're right now, knock on wood, on time for the project. So we are scheduled to land the plane at the end of June, and hopefully have housing production plans the towns can vote on shortly after that. Okay, I want to just skip the ADU by right bylaw and the short-term rental bylaw and ordinances and come back to those, and just give a brief overview of the transfer fee and housing bank filings, because there may be a couple of questions on this. So I sent out the links to the bills. Everything's been filed. You'll note that the bill numbers say either SD or HD. Those are preliminary numbers. Those numbers are going to change over the next month or two. And then each bill will have an S with a number next to it, or an H with a number next to it. S if it's Senate, H if it's House. But the links themselves, the language is not going to change between now and then. So there are two statewide enabling local option bills that have been filed, one by Senator Sear and one again by Senator Comerford, which is that's the LOHA, the local option for housing affordability bill. Senator Sears is very similar to what he filed last year, which has a higher threshold. He also filed a seasonal communities local option enabling bill, which is very similar to the statewide, but it specifies that the local option would be only for seasonal communities. So it just gives the legislature a different option to consider. Because of the seasonal communities designation, we now have more visibility at state level, and the needs of this region and the Southern Berkshires have more visibility at state level. The MV Housing Bank bill, I hope everyone's clear that when the Affordable Homes Act passed and was signed into law by the governor in August, the Martha's Vineyard towns were given the right to create a housing bank, a regional housing bank, via an intergovernmental agreement at any time. What they were not given was a tool to fund it with. So the transfer fee was not included. However, there's now no longer a reason to file legislation for a housing bank structure, because the right was given to the towns to create that by an intergovernmental agreement. So the bills that were filed on the House and Senate side for the housing bank only contain the transfer fee mechanism this time around, as the towns voted on it. And again, those links were provided. And then Nantucket's home rule petition, the link was also provided if anyone wants to refer back to that, since the plan is for the two islands to be advocating together this legislative session again, just like we did last session. All the other home rule petitions were also refiled. I believe Wellfleet, Truro, Provincetown, Arlington, Somerville, Cambridge, Boston. Those links are all on the state website if anyone's interested. Otherwise, this is a basic overview, so you've got the links. Things are not really going to heat up on the transfer fee until we get a little further into the session, but I wanted to make sure everyone had this information so you can read the bills if you so desire. Does anyone have questions on this right now? I see John Abrams' hand. John, you are muted. Can you unmute?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a clarification so everybody knows that our Senator Julian Sear filed 3 bills that Laura told you about, but the third one is a bill just for Martha's Vineyard and for a transfer fee for Martha's Vineyard. And so the legislature has 3 different options, and we're going to be pushing all of them.
Thanks, John. Any questions on the housing bank or the transfer fee? And we'll circle back to this in 2 months when, we're when things get, everything's going to have a final bill number, things will start moving. The big push on this is not going to start happening until later in the summer and really heading into fall. It's a 2-year legislative session, as you may remember. So next year is going to be the giant push. Just a heads up, we anticipate we're going to need a high level of visibility from Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket again, particularly in the context of the seasonal communities designation. So everybody rest up, because we will probably be asking you to come up to Beacon Hill next year. Okay, I'm gonna give an yay. John, you have your hand up again? Or you're
Yeah,
just like making?
I'm sorry. Just one other thing that I want to say, and that is that the coalition to create the Martha's Vineyard Housing Bank is just as active as it's ever been. But we are so grateful that the Martha's Vineyard Commission, Laura, Adam, and the commission itself is more committed than ever, more involved than ever. And I think it's really an important thing that adds so much.
Thanks, John. Okay, seasonal communities designation update. So some of you are aware that the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities recently reversed itself and said Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, even though they were automatically designated in the Affordable Homes Act, that the towns still need to vote to adopt the seasonal communities designation or accept the seasonal communities designation at town meeting. I've gotten a couple of questions on that in the last 2 days. Senator Sear is in direct touch with all the town administrators from all 6 towns, and Nantucket and Gosnold, the 6 Martha's Vineyard towns, Nantucket and Gosnold. Language has been provided that will need to be voted on at town meeting. It's really simple language. It's literally 1 sentence. And from what I understand, we have not been asked for any assistance. Senator Sear's office is taking care of this with each of the towns. And so far, I know I got a confirmation from Oak Bluffs that they're all set, from Aquinnah. Edgartown Select Board's voting on it on the 10th. So the anticipation is that once this 1-line sentence goes on each of the warrants, we're hoping everyone's going to vote yes, and then all of the rights that are granted in the seasonal communities will officially be bestowed upon all of the island towns. Is there any question on that? Yes, Victor.
Do you know where it was sent in Tisbury? Because we don't have an administrator full-time yet, I don't think. I think it's in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, I asked, he was sending it to the town clerk, to Elena Defoe, and to Pam Bennett.
Okay.
And I provided their phone numbers as well. So if you want to reach out to that group of 3, that would be terrific, and make sure
Thank
that
you.
that's,
Yep.
Yep, of course. From any of the other towns, any questions? Okay. So when town meetings happen, I mean, hopefully this is going to be a very simple thing to pass, but obviously the more people who can be there to support it, the better. So the Seasonal Communities Advisory Council is meeting March 12th. It's only the 2nd meeting of the Advisory Council. We had hoped guidance would be out by this month or next month. You know, the administration has 79 different guidance policies they have to generate for the Affordable Homes Act. So understandably, it's taking them some time, but we're hoping to get more information on March 12th, and I'll share that information when I get it. Senator Sear has also filed a seasonal communities bill, which I just realized I did not include in here, so I'll send that in a follow-up. He's written a bill that expands on and adds to the toolkit that was passed and provided to the towns in the Affordable Homes Act as seasonal communities. It's more funding tools. It would allow towns designated as a seasonal community to increase their local option meals tax, which for certain towns would be a significant amount of revenue. I think Oak Bluffs is bringing in $500,000 approximately, so $500,000 a year just from that 0.75% on the local option meals tax. So it's not a substitute for a transfer fee, obviously, but he's looking for other mechanisms that may be easy for the legislature to pass to expand on funding tools that we already have in use. There are also some other regulatory provisions in there. So I'll send the link out. I would encourage everyone to take a look at it. This is going to require some advocacy this session as well. And it would really, we have a real great opportunity with the seasonal communities designation if all the towns vote to adopt it, to expand and increase the tools that we've already been given. Let's see. That's it on seasonal communities, unless anybody has questions. Wow, no questions. Okay, super, great. So let's go back to town updates, since this is the first time we've had everybody in the same room, Zoom room for a while. Most of the towns have ADUs by right on the town meeting warrant, and also short-term rental bylaws or ordinances. So I'm wondering if we can just go town by town and get a quick update from you guys on where you are and what, like a brief overview of what these bylaws and the ADU by right bylaw looks like and the short-term rental bylaw or ordinance. Do we have Aquina? Mitzi, is that something, Mitzi and Daryl? Do you guys have that information for Aquina? Or that's the one town I have not gotten a response from.
Surprise. No, the planning board and the housing committee are in the process of scheduling a joint meeting to discuss.
Great.
But that
super. Okay, I know you guys have a later meeting date than everybody else, so okay, that's great to know. If you guys need resources, language, or support, reach out to me. I'm happy to attend those meetings, and also I think I have a copy of everybody else's language, so I'm happy to provide you guys with that if you want.
That'd be great. I'll let you know as soon as it's scheduled.
Yep, that would be great. Let's go to Chilmark. I see Anne and Peter here. I know you've both been working diligently on this, on the ADUs by right and the short-term rental ordinance. Where are you guys, and can you guys give like a brief synopsis of what your bylaw proposals look like?
Well, and perhaps you can fill in on this because I'm a little hoarse, but we're in fact having a meeting this evening, a public meeting looking at the ADU questions and the related zoning questions and short-term rental things. So we're in the thick of the discussion and hope to come out, I think, within the next week or so with language for what's going to go on the warrant. And perhaps you could fill in there if you.
Okay, Peter. The short-term rental, we have the basic outline, but it's being put off until the fall to vote on. The ADU is the basic protected use ADU, not getting into any special permitted second ADU at the moment. Again, just want to go through. Has four bylaws. It's an overload for the town, so we want to make it as simple as possible.
Okay. And you're cutting out a little bit, but I heard you say that's a little bit of an overload for the town, so you're trying to make this iteration of it as simple as possible, with the assumption you can go back and tweak it later on.
We're doing fractional, right? We have fractional ownership, and we have fractional ownership, and we're doing exception to affordable housing amendment so that we can have a greater density, basically.
Fantastic.
So yes, we're planning on future. We have a page of future considerations for ADUs, the special permit ones, and.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Chilmark? There's a lot of overlap between what the towns are working on, so I've been doing my best to provide information back and forth between the boards, and I know some of the town boards are actually sharing information directly, which I think is so great. And I want to commend everybody while you're all here in the same Zoom room. So many, almost all of our towns are actually really digging into the ADUs by right, and we are farther ahead than a lot of the towns in other jurisdictions in parsing this. So I really want to commend you guys on your diligence taking this up and examining it, and also looking at dealing with the ward decision and how to adopt the short-term rental bylaws and ordinances. It's been really great to see everyone's effort over the last several months. Are there any questions for Chilmark about what they're working on? If not, let's go to Edgartown. I see Shanette and Julia here. I don't know if anyone else is from Edgartown. I can't see. Julia, do you want to give a little bit of a brief overview of where Edgartown is?
Well, we do have an ADU article on our warrant. The town meeting is April 8th, so it's coming up soon. It's pretty simple and straightforward. All it does is, the one thing it does that is interesting to me at least is that it says you don't have to provide an off-street parking space necessarily. And you don't have to provide more than one. You don't have to provide any if you're downtown and so forth. That seemed like something worth doing. It doesn't say anything about short-term rentals because the select board created a short-term rental committee. And my understanding is that the short-term rental committee is not ready with anything for this spring's town meeting. We may have a floor amendment. And, you know, that will, whatever happens, happens. The only thing in the warrant about short-term rentals is just the barest minimum they are allowed in Edgartown. Beyond that, nothing.
Okay, thank you. Shanette, did you have anything to add for the Affordable Housing Committee on that?
Yes, so the committee decided that they kind of found out late about the ADU bylaw that was done, and they want to make sure that short-term rental in some way or form is stopped using the ADU bylaw. So the plan is to amend it on the floor, and they're currently working on that.
Great, thank you for that update. Are there any questions for Edgartown on this from the other towns? I see no hands. Let's see. Aquina, Chilmark, Edgartown. I always get like there's a lot of letters close to each other. Let's get Oak Bluff's next. Mark, are you here? Mark Leonard and Katie Donahue?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So what the planning board's done for the ADUs is just made it compliant with the new state law, increased it to 900 square feet, by right, no short-term rentals less than 31 days. And I think those were the major changes. We had just updated it last year, so we were pretty close to what we
Yeah, from
had.
what I recall, that update was really close, so it's not a lot of changes to be proposed to come into compliance.
Yep, and
Okay.
nothing on a standalone short-term rental bylaw yet.
Okay, all right, thanks for that update. Any questions for Oak Bluffs? Okay, let's go to Tisbury. And Tisbury, well, actually, Tisbury, you've already done this, right? You did both of them, Victor, at your special town meeting?
They were both done, and Casey may speak,
Casey?
formally came to from the planning board, but they were both approved at the special town meeting in December.
Yep, and those, thank you guys for leading the way on this. So those, I know that that language helped inform what the rest of the towns have been working on.
Both an ADU and a short-term rental bylaws. And
Does anybody have you gotten anything back? Sorry to interrupt, Victor. I didn't realize you were still talking. Have you guys gotten anything back from the Attorney General's office on those yet?
Not aware of. Casey?
Casey, do you know? Or Ben? I think I saw Ben just log on.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Tisbury? Okay, and then West Tisbury. Do we have I think I see Wanda on and Sebastian from West Tisbury. Where are you guys on your ADU by right bylaw and short-term rental stuff?
We've been reviewing them. We actually are in a few different places at the moment, but the committee is focusing on the ADUs. They met about it on the 11th of February. We're doing it again this week on the 11th of March. I just got some information sent to me that I'm going to share with the committee as well. And I got some, well, no, I don't want to misdirect, but I had some great news to share about the covenants from Nantucket. But anyway.
Let's hold on. Yeah, let's hold on that.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah. I see John Rao on here from the planning board. John, do you wanna, and Kim, sorry, Kim Angel, you're back from cooking.
Well, I just
Oh.
wanted to add to what Wanda
Yeah.
said, but I'll let John go first. He probably knows more than I do.
Doubt it. But the short-term rental regulations have been adopted by the select board. So as far as I know, they're ready for the warrant article. As far as ADUs, I really am not sure, so I shouldn't speak.
Kim, did that warrant article get filed?
It has,
Okay.
and they, the Planning Board Affordable Housing Committee, there is a no short-term rental clause in there.
Okay, great.
I think it's pretty basic and pretty good, so.
Yeah,
Okay. Super. Any questions for West Tisbury?
I did have a question to,
Yeah.
I've been working on the SHI that was requested of the state. I just wondered if everybody else was okay with it, because I'm going through the state LIP program, and they're helping me confirm everything that I've been working on. But that was just something I wanted to share because I know they were due.
Yeah, was everybody able to, Shanette, I know that you got something from the state and we're working on that. Of all the towns aware the request went out, I think I checked in with most of the affordable housing committees to make sure that they received the request from the state for the SHI to be updated. I know in past years that request had kind of gotten lost. So when we started the housing needs assessment, like a year and a half ago, a lot of the SHIs weren't updated. So are there any towns who are not aware that they were asked to update their SHI within the last month? Victor, is Tisbury, are you guys?
Well, Tisbury is aware of it, but there is no mechanism to actually do the analysis. So
Okay, all right.
it's sort of in a limbo at this point.
Okay.
They need an assistant.
Yes, we do.
Yes, if
Okay.
anyone knows of anyone.
Is that a
Tisbury's
conflict of
looking.
interest for me?
Oh, you
right.
guess can talk about that offline.
Yep,
Wanda.
another day.
Okay, but the other towns, if anybody else needs any help, I don't know if you're not aware that your town's gotten a request to update the SHI, please reach out to me. I will help connect you with EOHLC. The other thing is David Vigneault, who I don't see his face here, but he's here. When we did the housing needs assessment last year, I had asked each of the towns to create an inventory of your affordable housing, not just with the SHI, but with other units, and asked everyone to please keep that updated annually. So because the state has asked everyone to update their SHI, now is a great opportunity to also review your other units, units that are deed restricted but not on the SHI, and make sure that those are all updated. Since everybody's here in the room, if I could ask you to send your inventory sheet to David Vigneault at DCRHA. He just reached out to me to ask if I had a copy of everyone's updated inventory sheets. I have the ones from last year, but since you're all doing your updates, if each affordable housing committee could please send David Vigneault and CC me your updated inventory, that's your SHI that you're filing with the state, and your other inventory, so that he's got a clear picture of what the inventory looks like. Barrett Planning is going to be needing that from you anyway for the housing production plans. So now is a great time to get that information together. And I think what would probably be, if I can speak for David, it would be helpful for David to have this from you annually. So I think what we'd ask is that going forward, when you update your SHI for the state, which is this time every year, update your other inventory. And then when you file your SHI with the state, send that and your other inventory to David and CC myself. And if we make this an annual thing, then we'll really be able to keep our counts up to date, which I know will help DCRHA enormously. And will also help us, keeping our data current.
Thank you, Laura, very much, because it's circular. I then get requests for this information from various committees in town and elsewhere. So rather than, chasing it or bugging
Yeah.
you at the last moment, it would be, as Laura has outlined, it would be very helpful to catch your updates. So
Yep.
and let us know if we can help. Thank you.
And if there's a way for each affordable housing committee to have this on your website so that your other committees can access this on your page from the website, it will be hugely helpful because this housing information is necessary for so many grant applications for like everything from wastewater to infrastructure, you know, everything. So if it's easily accessible, it's really going to help the rest of your committees and boards realize that that information is right there. So I would request if there's a way to put it up on the affordable housing page of your website, that would be hugely helpful. I know some of the CPCs have started posting their information of their, you know, how they're allocating funds. And I have to say, when I am trying to advocate for you guys at state level, when I can just pull those numbers right off the website and provide them to the state for a last minute thing, it's enormously helpful. And it really gives us like instant talking points and instant leverage with the state. Okay, so that's the ADUs by right and the short-term rental owners. See, Lucy was really worried that we couldn't get through this agenda, but look, we're only at 30 minutes and we're already like through most of it. So just like 2 announcements of the 2 workshops that I included at the end, and then we'll get to like kind of the group discussion. Oh, I will pause. I see Peter Cook's hand up. Yes, Peter.
I just had one comment on the ADU issues, and one of the reasons that we're going to be looking at a short-term rental thing in the fall, not right now. We are working really hard and trying to understand all of the implications of regulating short-term rentals in relation to the ADU by right. One of the things that seems to be affecting the conversation to some degree is that we know that the people working on this from the state, from the point of view of the Commonwealth, are going to be adjusting things as things go along, as they get more information about how it all is working out statewide. And so it'd be very useful for us to have any information about any of those developments in the conversations, because it'll affect how we try to get it right in terms of the language about especially the short-term rental applications and restrictions on that thing. So it's just, since the conversation will be ongoing, if we can sort of keep track of that, it'd be very useful.
Thanks, Peter. So I will say the state has put out the guidance on the ADUs by right that does speak to the short-term rentals, and that was approved by the AG's office. So that guidance is live on the state website now. So if you're looking for how the towns can restrict ADUs in the ADU bylaw from being used as short-term rentals, that has been determined by the state. So Peter, you guys should be able to access it. And if you have any difficulty finding that, let me know and I'm happy to help you guys find that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else about ADUs before I move on? Okay, so there's 2 trainings that I posted in the information email for this, and it's also up on the calendar event for this on the Martha's Vineyard Commission calendar. The first is this Mass Housing Partnership virtual training, which is fantastic because you can enjoy it from the comfort of your own office chair or your own living room. And it's called training. It's a training series called Strengthening Local Boards and Commissions to Support Affordable Housing. So if you guys have, I know that Tisbury had Mass Housing Partnership do a 40B training for their zoning board of appeals, which they made available to the other boards in the other towns. For those of you who attended that, it was incredibly information packed, really accessible, and very clear. They are available to do trainings like this specifically with any board if you want to retain them. But this particular workshop is offered free. It is virtual. If you sign up for the workshop and you can't attend, they will still send you the links to the recordings and you can watch it at your leisure. So I'd really encourage everyone to sign up for this. particularly administrators, please sign up so that you can get the links for your committees so that you guys can keep track of this and review if you'd like. Yes, Julia.
Laura, I think you said that you had included that in your email to all of us, but it doesn't seem to be in the one I'm looking at.
No, what's the date?
I sent one out yesterday, last night. There was a reminder email to everyone.
Okay, I'm looking at 220. All right, I'll find it.
Okay, so I sent it out last night about 6:30. I was still at work, 6:30 p.m.-ish.
Okay, great,
With a
thank you.
reminder. Yeah. And Wanda, you got that as well. So it
The
has
links are also on the calendar page for this meeting.
Oh yeah.
So if you can't find the email, just go to the MVC calendar, look at March 5th, and it's there.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Lucy. And the second opportunity is an in-person opportunity, and that's for CPTC, which is the Citizens Planning and Training Collaborative. It's a conference, it's a day-long conference in Worcester, and it's on March 15th. I know Julia's smiling, she's gonna be my buddy at the conference. This is a really great conference. If anyone is interested in going, I did send out an email letting you know that the Martha's Vineyard Commission is happy to pay the registration fee for one attendee from each town. You would be responsible for your own travel back and forth. But I know that, Julia had said she would be happy to carpool with somebody. I'm attending, but I'm going up the night before and staying over with some friends.
I'm
You're
going
going
up
up the night before as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, it starts at 8:30 in the morning. So we have had groups go from here on the 6 a.m. boat and just miss like the breakfast and schmoozing stuff and come in at 9 o'clock when the session started. So if anyone wants to attend, that offer is still open. Sometimes this book's up. So if anyone's interested, I'd really ask that by the end of this week that you reach out to me and let me know that you want to attend. They send out information packages afterwards, which I can share with you guys when I get it, but they do not record the sessions. So this is, again, it's an in-person opportunity. If anyone wants to attend, please let me know. Any questions on that one? And again, like Lucy said, that information is also posted to the calendar link on our website for today's meeting. So you can access it from there or email me with any questions. Okay, 4:39 p.m. and we are done with the listed topics. So I wanted to open it up for questions, comments, things you would like to discuss. I know we have IHT here, we have the housing bank, we have all the towns. Is there anything that anyone in particular has a question about or would like input from the other boards on or would like to discuss? I know, actually, you know what? I'm going to prompt somebody here before I open this up. I am going to ask, the town of Edgartown has been looking into demolition delay bylaw and strengthening their demolition delay bylaw. And also, potentially looking at creating actually the ability to move houses or a program that would move houses. Nantucket's been incredibly successful moving houses that were scheduled for demolition through this very robust demolition delay bylaw that they have. And I know Shanette and Casey from her committee have been talking really extensively. And Shanette, I was just wondering if you could give everybody a little bit of an update on what you guys discovered and where you are with this, because this seems like an incredible opportunity for Martha's Vineyard to look at maybe duplicating this type of program. And this was spoken to specifically in the zoning analysis. So I'm really thrilled that Edgartown's like taken this up and started researching this.
Okay, so we literally just started. We haven't had a real meeting on it yet. Our next meeting is on March the 25th, and that's when we're going to really dive into it. But so far, we've been very communicative with Nantucket. They're doing awesome jobs. They average 20 relocation alone per year. That's what that's their average right now. And the data that we got was basically Egerton hasn't done anything like that in the last like 9 years or something like that. And it's just the committee has been seeing a lot of demolitions, a lot of demolitions coming in. Some months we get 3, some months we get 5. It's just a lot of demolitions that's coming in, and they figured there has to be a better way of conserving some of them, because some of the properties, they're livable. But it's just the process that needs some sort of adjustment, and that's how they came up with the idea. And of course, we had Laura there to let us know that Nantucket was doing it, and we've been communicating with Nantucket. So on the 25th, we're also most likely will be inviting someone from Nantucket to chime in, since it will be a Zoom meeting, and we'll have more information from there. But we literally just started at this.
So Shanette, if you get someone from Nantucket scheduled on the 25th, would you let us know like well in advance? Because what I'd love to do is send that link out to everybody in JAG. I think this would be a fantastic opportunity to listen to what Nantucket's doing. This ties into the covenant program that Wanda just mentioned, but a lot of these moves are not even going to affordable home sites. They're actually going to private folks who just have a piece of property and, you know, are trying to utilize something instead of building. There's a huge cost savings when you can move a structure and adapt it for adaptive reuse. And it threads a whole lot of needles. So I know, John, you've got your hand up here.
Jeanette, if you, so on the Vineyard between 2007 and 2014, I think at least a dozen homes were moved. But one of the really interesting things about that was that the people who own the houses paid for that. And the way they paid for that, they paid, and then at the time, the Island Affordable Housing Fund valued the house, and they got a tax deduction for that. And so the whole thing was incredibly cost effective and simple. The big problem is that houses these days, it's very hard to come up to codes. And so a lot of houses that you look at for moving are difficult to move because they would require so much renovation. But I would really love to know about that meeting with Nantucket. I'd love to hear how they're doing right now. So let me know. I'd like to be there.
Definitely we'll send it out to Laura, and then she could, you know, send it to
Great.
everyone once we
Great.
get to that
Thanks.
point. Anytime.
The other thing I'll say about this is because we have the ADUs by right piece now, a house doesn't always have to be moved in its entirety. In 2006, we were lucky enough to be given a house that was going to be torn down, and we were able to take 2/3 of it and tractor trailer it over and stick it onto the back of our house as an addition, which gave us an additional 800 square feet. So with the advent of ADUs by right and the upcoming zoning changes, if everyone adopts these, there's another pathway for reusing, if not the entire building, then part of the building. So yeah, Shanette would be very interested in seeing what happens. And, you know, if this can be, if information can be shared across all the towns. So if there's, you know, so much of this has to do with organization. Nantucket's really organized about how they collate all this information so that the public really knows that these opportunities exist. And that knowledge creates opportunities on the ground. So we'll be sure to share that when Shanette sends that information out. And then Wanda, you were saying something about West Tisbury looking into the covenant program on Nantucket, which is something that Housing Nantucket created that actually is a receiving program for a lot of these house moves. And this is a program that allows people to cut off a small piece of their larger properties and deed restrict it as an affordable home site.
Well, after our last meeting, on the 25th, one of the questions, you informed us that Nantucket had great guidelines for monitoring and enforcing. So they did finally get back to me, and I put them aside so that we could look at them for the meeting that we'll have, our committee, West Israel, will have on the 1st. We're not going to have one on the 25th.
Okay, sorry, Wanda. I meant when you said covenant, I totally thought that was
no, it's about the
You're talking about
restrictions.
deed restriction, about like what the deed
Yes,
writer looks like on a
right, but
property. Okay,
no, but
and enforcing deed writers.
exactly, that's all part of it, because they're working on the standardized deed, but their conversations tend to go right over to the enforcement and monitoring, because without that piece, they can't finish it. So Nantucket gave us a good start, so we can maybe get something completed by next month or by May.
That's great. And when you guys get that sorted out, can you again
Mhm.
share that with me and I'll send it out to the rest of the towns? So
Oh,
this is
yeah.
about monitoring and enforcement, and West Tisbury had come up upon a situation, they were figuring out how to manage it. So I sent them to talk to Housing Nantucket, which had just dealt with a non-compliance issue within the last 4 or 5 months, and they had come up with a routine to deal with it that was very effective for resolving the issue. Okay, so what else? What else? Anybody else? We're like zipping through this. Is there anything else that anybody wants to talk about? Yeah, Julia.
Well, this isn't housing, but anybody who hasn't already done so should write emails to our senator and our representative asking them to extend the remote meeting rules in Massachusetts, which are due to expire at the end of March.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. Yes, we would all like to continue doing this on Zoom.
I mean, I have an email that I could forward if you want it.
You know what? If you want to just hit I BCC'd everybody for the you know what? If you want to send it to me, Julia, I'll just send that out. I can send that out to the JAG so everyone's got a copy of that.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Philippe, I see your hand up.
Hey, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So Island Housing Trust is looking into different ways to help incentivize property owners when it comes to building ADUs. So we've been doing some research, talking to some folks like Backyard ADU, and compiling some resources and working on some ideas in terms of helping finance ADU construction. So if any of the towns are interested in this, I would be interested in speaking with you as we start pulling together some ideas, just to really see if there's traction, whether it's feasible, and what exactly our role would be, trying to make sense of this across all 6 island towns. So I would encourage you to reach out, speak with me, and I will be doing that as well with the individual town housing committees.
Great, thanks, Philippe. Does anybody have any questions for Philippe on that? I did notice that I was just poking around online. I did notice that Wellfleet has a program. I was going to contact and reach out to them to see how effective it's been. But they offer up to $40,000 for to help with construction costs for an ADU if the owner is willing to restrict the ADU to be rented as an affordable unit for a certain number of years, after which the restriction falls away and it's an unrestricted unit. So that's a way that towns can incentivize. Victor, I see your hand up.
Along these lines, I had been doing some digging because we've had some very, very preliminary discussion about how do you create incentives for the development of ADUs, and what you just described in Wellfleet is one approach, but it means obviously funding that pool, which we talked about earlier today, but you can also think about funding it in part through the CPC funds, as well as set aside from the short-term rental excise tax that comes into the towns. In addition to that, you can think about approaches that may involve a tax abatement that some of the towns are considering or that have in place for residents, to extend those to seasonal residents who develop an ADU that is rented on a year-round basis. But all of those kinds of things take some analysis of what the impact is. And so what I'd like to see, or if there's any interest in, is any joint town, I hate to say the word, but joint town effort to do some of those kinds of analysis. I mean, they would require some kind of looking at, obviously, impact on, for example, the abatement. Make an assumption about how many abatements you might want to do. What's the impact of that on tax revenues that the town depends on? What's the offset of that from the increased value that an ADU brings? I mean, that it not necessarily complicated analysis, but it is some work. And so if there was interest among more than one town to do this together, as Tisbury has done with Oak Bluffs with the short-term rental status assessment project, I think I'd be interested in talking to other people about it as well.
You know what it sounds like to me? I'm going to throw a suggestion out there. This sounds like a great conversation to actually be having with IHT, since IHT is already looking at how these incentives and mechanisms might work. And as the Community Land Trust for the island, they have systems set up to create opportunities just like this that would take I know these are all volunteer committees. A lot of them, right now, admin capacity is very limited. I would maybe suggest if the town affordable housing communities are interested, and Philippe, let me know what this sounds like. If the affordable housing communities might want to talk about designating one member to have like, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like a think tank, like an ADU think tank, just an opening conversation with one member from each of the town affordable housing committees and IHT to talk about what something might look like if IHT could provide a service to the towns. Does that make sense, Philippe? Is that sort of what you're talking about? You're muted right now.
Yeah, well, we've been looking at various examples. They're usually, many of them are on a state level, like Vermont, for instance, have an ADU program. They provide incentives to property owners who want to do year-round rentals, and as well as in California. So it obviously would make a lot of sense if we look at this island-wide and trying to not just provide maybe financial or grant incentives, but also looking at facilitating a way for people to have a more seamless process when it comes to the the planning, the design, the permitting, and development. But then in addition to that, if you're going to have certain restrictions, there's going to be ongoing monitoring, enforcement, income qualifications possibly. So all of these things have to be thought about. There's been some work, obviously, the Housing Authority has done some of that in the past with the town of West Tisbury. But I think it'd be a great opportunity, to really do this, what do you refer to it as, Laura, gentle development, with ADUs, and trying to make sense of it. The folks at Backyard ADU have a modularized product that they're looking to see if it can make sense here on the island. The rents, I think, are something that could make it financially feasible if we could get the price point down to a certain point. So yeah, I'm very interested in working with the towns to try and make sense of this. The housing committees, I guess, would be the point. The folks that would be taking point on this, and seeing how we can launch something. We have had success raising capital, private investors for projects that we do, both in terms of lines of credit, short-term lines of credit, and longer term loans or mortgages. So we thought initially, wow, maybe some low cost financing could be helpful for property owners. And then I've also heard people talking about raising funds. And I think the AMI question is a good one. I think with these ADUs, it certainly could help facilitate renting to people at 100% and above who are currently not able to secure rental housing from kind of the traditional public funded projects that we do. So
Philippe, let me just,
Hmm?
yeah, let me just, so I think because we're heading up, I just realized we're heading right up against 5 o'clock. I'm gonna, Victor, I think it'd be awesome for you to have a conversation with Philippe about what you're thinking about or what you're wondering about. And then maybe what we can do is circle back with everybody after town meeting votes to see where everybody gets with their ADUs by right bylaw. And if there's enough interest to convene kind of like just a think group to just have a conversation, Philippe, and do a little bit of brainstorming around what this might look like. And I see Casey's hand up. Casey?
I had a conversation with Dylan Fernandez about rent control, which I thought was really interesting. I think that's something that we should be looking into because my hesitation here is I have to speak for the people that are the renters and not the people that already own the homes. And I just want to caution us moving forward that we're not taking our funds and giving them to people that already have housing. I think that that's very dangerous territory and that perhaps we should be using our funds to, since the ADU by right is already happening, continue to explore incentives for the renters and not the landlords.
Thanks, Casey. Thanks for adding that. On that note, as far as creating more rental opportunities, I did want to mention for those who don't know that Chilmark is going to be piloting a lease to locals program through Placemate. You may recall that we brought, Lucy and I had Placemate do a presentation, I think it was about 1.5 years ago, to the Housing Action Task Force. So when is that a warrant article that's going to be voted on, Ann and Peter, or was that money already allocated by the trust?
It's coming through money from the trust.
Okay. Would you update everybody when that program gets rolling? This is actually the first pilot on Martha's Vineyard. Nantucket, I believe, from what I saw from their website, they've already had 32 conversions from short-term rentals to long-term rentals as a result of this program, just since its inception in September over there. And I know Provincetown is piloting. I also heard that Wellfleet and Orleans are preparing to pilot this program as well. So this may be something that can be duplicated across the other island towns. So yeah, Ann and Peter, if you could share how that rolls out, that would be fantastic. It's right at 5 o'clock now. Are there any other questions or topics people want to ask about? Because if not, I think I'm gonna let everybody go for the day. Shanette, yep.
Yeah, for the pilot program, I would like to know whether, like, what's the total number where you guys trying to get? And what's like the cost?
You know, it would be great. And you guys got a proposal from Placemate, right? Would you share that with me? And I'm going to send it out to the whole JAG so everybody can see what this proposal looks like. I was there at the presentation. They did a fantastic job with the PowerPoint, and it's very clear like what it's going to cost for these conversions or what they're projecting. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Anne and Jeanette. I'll send it out to you and everybody else. Anybody else? I think we'll finish up then. First of all, I want to say I know this is hard work. I really want to extend my appreciation to every single person on this Zoom for all the hard work that you're doing in your town and in between the towns, in your board, with the other boards. You know, I know that town meeting season is coming up and sometimes it's a little bit of a tricky time of year and really tiring. And I want you guys to know, I know you're within each town, so it's hard to see what's going on across the island, but from where I'm standing, there's a lot happening that was not happening just 1 year ago here. And I really want to thank each and every one of you for your part in that. And Lucy and I are, of course, always here to answer any questions and support you guys as you move forward in the work that you're doing.
Same goes to you, Laura. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, John. My pleasure.
Catalyst.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks again, Laura.